You can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
Definitely lots to cover with Elon Musk and SpaceX. Once again, as I covered so many times over the years, exposing this is so very important so people understand the whole idea of deep space exploration is nothing but a hoax. And how fitting that the man that's leading SpaceX, Elon Musk, has the dragon symbolism, just like biblically how the serpent, the great dragon, deceives the world. And this is definitely what's happening in this world today with this very deep deception. And the masses, they just fall for it, of course, hook, line, and sinker. And that gets back to what this video is really all about, is how basically 8 times over the last 4 years during these so-called landings with SpaceX, the cameras go out at the exact moment, precise moment, when the supposed Falcon 9 comes in for a reverse landing. And with Elon Musk, of course, being a Freemason, which I've demonstrated many times over the years, the whole concept of doing things in reverse, and definitely this concept is nothing new with famous Freemason and Satanist Aleister Crowley in the law of reversal. And you can see all the concepts of doing things backwards, of course, riding backwards, walking backwards, just like Michael Jackson's backslide, reading backwards, speaking backwards, and of course, in the Satanic Church, how they say the Lord's Prayer backwards, all, of course, again, the law of reversal, and that gets into, just like with NASA, prior to Elon Musk, and you have these launches, and of course, the countdown.
Go for main engine start. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All 3 engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. The final liftoff of Atlantis.
And there you go with the law of reversal, and of course, with Elon Musk, this whole concept of these so-called reverse landings. And this looks, of course, picture perfect. This is nothing more than CGI fakery. And that's going to get into how there's so many issues with the so-called reverse landings on the drone ships. And here's another example. I'm going to get right to it here on the drone ship itself. And look how fake phony this looks. It's coming out of the angle, then lands perfectly. And of course, no camera glitches, which again, I said I'll get into. But first off, before even getting into that topic, again, with all the debacles with these so-called reverse landings on the drone ship, let's take a look here. Again, this is not just pointing out the fakery with one aspect with the reverse landings on the sail barge. Also, when it comes down to it, let's take a look here. Again, it's all about having good discernment. And take a look. And one thing I will say is, I never disputed these launches from Cape Canaveral. They definitely launch these rockets, but they definitely do not go into space. You know, if you want to pass off a lie, you got to give a little bit of truth. And this is what's happening here. This is definitely a real launch, but again, it does not go into space. And I'll demonstrate that. It's all smoke and mirrors, literally. As the rocket goes up, it takes its arc. And let's actually speed up the footage here a little bit. Let's get to the point where you see it literally going down. And basically nothing more than expensive firework that crashes back in the ocean. And again, definitely not going in to outer space. People have eyes, but they cannot see. People have a brain, but do not use it, unfortunately, when it comes. Let's take a look here at the angle it's coming down. Okay, and this is where basically, literally, this is where they cut off the footage, and then they show the bogus footage from so-called outer space, and they end it right there. But what you don't see, like I showed many times, is footage, amateur footage, definitely showing, again, how these rockets don't go to space. And again, right here, this is where it basically comes back down into the ocean. Definitely not going to space. And this is where the fakery takes place. Now, this is amateur footage, something you're not going to see on the mainstream media. From Cocoa Beach, Florida, with the SpaceX launch. I sped up the footage just for the sake of time. And just take a look at this launch. basically, literally, it's coming back straight down. And obviously, they have these launches by the ocean, so they could basically dump these rockets straight in the ocean. Nothing more than, again, than an expensive firework, as I demonstrated this footage many times over the years. So again, people need to have good discernment. Talking about discernment, take a look at this fakery. Again, this is where they mix truth with lies. When you had the real launch, which didn't go into space, now you have this so-called grasshopper test launch going back about 5-6 years with SpaceX. And again, the devil is in the details. Many issues, many anomalies when it comes to SpaceX. And this is the problem with liars that can't get their lies straight. And look what you have here. You have a flame from the so-called rocket. Again, nothing but CGI. And you have a shadow from light from the so-called flame. And this literally can happen. And again, look, take a look here also. Look at this weak flame. It looks like a candle in the wind. Not powerful enough to hold up that rocket. What a complete joke. And again, that shadow right here, you see it. And then it comes in for that landing here. And it looks like just a bad PS1 game, PlayStation 1 game from 1996. What a joke that was. Now, again, getting back to the flame itself, let's actually back up here a little bit and analyze the flame here from this bogus rocket, all CGI. And again, anybody that wants to make the excuse that, oh, this is from the smoke, no. This is clearly from the so-called flame. And we all know about this, how basically you're not going to get a shadow from a flame. Okay, this is how it works. With light, you're not going to get a shadow. And I'm going to get back to the topic of the 8 failed cameras going out over the last 4 years. But again, let's get back here. And for the last time, let's play this clip before we move forward. And again, that's clearly a shadow from this so-called rocket again. So again, the anomalies are very clear. And again, this looks like just like a video game. And again, I'm not saying this launch here, as I shown earlier, is not real. Okay, this is a real launch. Nothing fake about this for sure. And you can see the power of the thrust and how much power is being propelled to lift the rocket. Again, not going into space compared to this garbage footage, once again, with CGI animation. As you see it, basically, like I said, it looks like a candle in the wind, how it's being pushed. This very weak appearing flame. Nothing but garbage. Now, let's move forward here. Again, with the so-called reverse landing with the camera going out. I'm going to go over again the history of all these failed, footage that's being captured of the so-called landing. Let's get right to it with this one that took place just last week with the joint venture of NASA and SpaceX. Let's take a look.
To make its way to our drone ship, of course, I still love you.
Dragon SpaceX nominal orbital insertion.
Just confirmation, nominal orbital insertion.
Nominal orbital insertion. Deployed.
And what you're seeing on your screen is a live view of our drone ship, where our first stage will be coming down.
And of course, there you go with the camera going out, the precise moment when the so-called reverse landing happens.
Looks like we lost that live view, but we'll wait for confirmation of that landing shortly here.
Falcon 9 first stage is successfully landed.
And there you can see on your screen.
And of course, this is just part of the fakery. And I'm going to show some more footage going back in time. And this one goes back to May 27, 2016. And let's take a look as these three stooges are passing fake off as real. And let's take a look. The precise moment, once again, when you have the landing, there's your glitch. So there's your first one. Let's go to number 2 from June 23rd, 2017.
Landing burn is starting.
Confirmation of the landing burn has started.
There you go.
Into something like that can cause some issues. And it looks like we did have a good recovery of the first stage.
Give me a break. And again, this is the second time, as you can see, and they never correct the issue with having a secondary or a third or fourth or fifth camera. I guess it's not in the budget for SpaceX to have, you know, extra cameras, different angle. No, they can't do that. It doesn't fit in the budget, amazingly. Now, let's go to number 3 here. And this one here from October 30th, 2017. What a complete joke. And of course, here comes the magic. The fake phony baller, as always, I got to show that first. That subliminal programming for the SpaceX fanboys. And then sure enough,
we have confirmation from recovery operators that stage 1 has landed. Stage 1 has landed. We don't have any images.
There you go. This piece of crap, this piece of garbage fakery that they're pulling off. And again, said it earlier, why don't they have, you know, any backup cameras aboard? It's not in their budget. They have all that money. Elon Musk has multi-millions of dollars, but he can't spend a few bucks for some extra cameras aboard these drone ships. Give me a break. Now let's go to footage number 4, the fourth one here, from February 16, 2018.
Sometimes this footage goes out when it approaches the drone ship and the heavy vibrations make it lose signal.
There you go again. Give me a break.
That's not the case right now.
And all the NASA fanboys and fangirls in the back clapping, cheering. But you can have, again, additional cameras. How about a camera off the barge itself? You know, secondary ship. No excuse. Of course, you know, they keep doing this over and over again. Again, I demonstrated this is the 4th time, and they're not learning, obviously. And people need to start asking questions that believe in this nonsense called SpaceX. Now, here's something very interesting. Now, this footage here, where you have the launch, and again, not going to space, taking that arc before it dumps in the ocean, as I showed previously. Now, this is the hilarious part. They're going to pan down to the big screen TV momentarily. And what do you see? You're going to see the Falcon Heavy, while what you see in the sky, again, is going up. It makes absolutely no sense. So obviously, this is nothing more than stock footage that they're putting on the big screen while they're showing this. What a complete joke, and how dark it is as well. Again, just another anomaly that they're pushing out. And again, you cannot fake real, and they're doing a horrible job of SpaceX pushing their nonsense garbage off as real to the gullible masses. Now, to number 5 from April 18th, 2018. Let's take a look here at another camera fail. Oh, amazing. Just cuts out at that moment once again.
Right there on your screen. The first stage has successfully landed on a fourth I Still Love You.
Yeah, that one angle there.
24th successful landing.
And obviously they can just, you know, they can have this all successful landings as far as the camera angles are concerned, camera footage. But this is purposely happening, of course. And let's get to number 6. Again, these two geeks, SpaceX geek employees, pushing off fake as real once again from April 11th, 2019.
And we are landing on our drone ship. Of course, I still love you.
And what a surprise. Once again. And there's your frozen camera.
Looks like we lost the live view.
What a shocker. At number 6.
Waiting for some confirmation,
And they love to say that, waiting for confirmation. Give me a break.
it sounds like we landed the center core on our drone ship. We have landed the center core for the first time on our drone.
And there's your fake phony baller, fake rocket landings, reverse landings. Again, this is all about the occult of doing things in opposites.
Of course, I still love you. For the first time, we've landed all 3 boosters for Falcon Heavy. What an amazing day.
They use these younger people, you know, to pull in the gullible younger audience, of course. You know, the naive, the very gullible masses. And the old saying goes, get them while they're young. And again, of course, using younger people to, you know, basically they're pulling in the younger audience. Now let's continue on here.
Okay. So now we are going to take a quick break.
Oh, there you go. Amazing.
You can hear our crowd going wild.
And number 7, December 5th, 2019.
Acquisition of signal, New Hampshire. Stage 1 landing legs have deployed.
And there you go again, of course.
Unfortunately, it looks like we have lost our feed for the booster landing. Oh,
And there it is. Oh.
Here's the crowd behind me. Another successful landing.
Yeah, successful passing off fake as real to the gullibles. Now, again, as I demonstrated in the very beginning from last week, this garbage nonsense.
To make its way to our drone ship, of course, I still love you.
Dragon SpaceX nominal orbital insertion.
Just confirmation is nominal orbital insertion.
Nominal orbital insertion.
Deployed.
And what you're seeing on your screen is a live view of our drone ship, where our first stage will be coming down.
And there you go again.
Looks like we lost
For
our
the
live
8th
view.
time. And again, I'm being repetitive here. But how many times are they going to allow this to happen with these bogus, you know, cameras going out? Obviously, they can just fake the whole thing all the way through, but for whatever reason, this is just mind games by Elon Musk and company. And one thing I should mention as well, I am fully aware of the sail barges or these drone ships, and they bring them back to port, these so-called reverse landing rockets with the Falcon 9. And of course, we get no footage, amateur footage, of these rockets doing the reverse landing on a sail barge. You know, it's just basically an infomercial by SpaceX. And definitely don't think it's real just because you see them bring these rockets back into port. It's all for show. It's just like a movie. They're editing it all together. And this is basically a bunch of nonsense. Again, the whole idea of why they're doing this, and they're doing it to hide God. That's the whole idea of this deep deception that's taken place. And the gullibles, of course, are going to fall for it. And it's very fitting that they use, again, the dragon, which is biblically mentioned as Satan deceiving the world. And of course, this whole idea of this Big Bang explosion, this removed God from the equation. And that's the whole idea behind this. These are literally Satanists. If people believe it or not, that's exactly what's happening. No one makes it on top of this world unless you're part of the world deception. 100%. Elon Musk and SpaceX exposed once again.
As a science journalist, my question is, through your career and your writing and your acting, you've inspired so many people to enter the sciences. How do you balance science with science fiction?
They're both the same. Science and science fiction are essentially the same.
Thank you very much.
I can hear machinery blinding me with science.
Blinded by science, where do I belong?
Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the earth. There's no place to go. Is that the earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the earth. There's no place to go.
Well, when I was standing outside that capsule, it was a very quiet and peaceful moment, you know. At that moment, you look at the world, and it looks very fragile. You could see the curvature of the earth.
You've been lied to by textbooks, and that dude who jumped out of a perfectly good balloon, what's his name? Felix!
Felix Baumgartner, he would have been about 2 millimeters above the surface of this globe. That's his edge of space jump. Now, you know, I don't. It's fine. He wants to. I don't have a problem if he does it, but the honesty of it would greatly diminish what I think people thought he was actually doing. And not only that, they made sure to photograph him standing there with a really wide-angle lens, which curves horizontal lines. Right. So in the photo, you see this curvature of Earth's surface, and he said, "Wow, he's in space. Look at that."
You could see the curvature of the Earth.
No, he's not. At that height, you don't see the curvature of the Earth if you are 2 millimeters above this beach ball. You just don't. That stuff is flat. That stuff is flat. That stuff is flat. You've been lied to by textbooks.
Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.